There is a thing with cancer, and I subscribe to it, that the language of cancer is problematic. I don't see it as a battle. I think it's like it's very similar to when the thing about AIDS first came out. People were living with it, and it's the living with it that is problematic for the person concerned, but often more problematic for the people they associate with.
Yeah.
Their relatives or their friends or whatever. And I think it was a big shock for me, because it brought home, not that I expected to live forever, because I would know differently, because professionally I worked with people dying. I worked, as I said to you, my second ward oncology, some of those men were under 25 or under 30. Okay, this is in the 80s, but they were incredibly young.
Yeah.
And I suppose one of the things from a nursing career is that you are aware of the whole of sort of life, birth to death, because you have those experiences. But when it's your own, or it becomes your own experience, or is looming up, that's very hard. I think it could be one of the problems that you have when you have depression, or it could come up, because I have a spiritual advisor who is a nun, and she's well into her 70s, and I see her probably 3 or 4 times a year, and she said to me, one of the ways to overcome that is to sort of embrace life. And I thought, well, there is a wisdom in that, but you need a bit of oomph, or you need a mindset that says, yes, I'm going to continue my life, come what may. But the side effects or the effects of treatment, or it could even be the cancer, I don't know. I'm not, because when I think of my cancer, all I had was one episode of hematuria. I hadn't been unwell that I noticed. I hadn't lost any weight, because I had a picture in my mind that, because when I saw my brother, he had that dreadful waxy yellow. He was a lot taller than I remember, but he was as thin as a rake.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's not my experience. I haven't lost any weight. My hair's gone white, but they say that happens because of the sunitinib. And it was going white anyway, So this idea of sort of getting on with life, they're lovely words, and that they are encouragers, but it's not that easy, because I think having a cancer diagnosis and having cancer treatment, to me, you're knocked down to the lowest you could ever be. And I think in life generally, there's knocks.
Yeah.
Whatever those knocks could be. They could be failed relationships, they could be things that you don't get, or things that you lost, whatever. And I suppose it's dealing with that in a way that can give you some sense of peace or some sense of calmness that, to me, is problematic for me now, to think, that, hang on, because I read something and it really upset me, and this nun was saying to me, she said it's only a statistic, but I'd read something I think it was in the Catholic paper, that most cancer patients are dead within 6 years of diagnosis and treatment. And I said, oh right. And it stuck in my head, and I thought, well, yes, that's true. And this guy had nursed his wife, the guy who wrote this article. So he was talking about how the services need to be humanised and you need to be sensitive. But the thing that struck me was that statistic, starting an article like that, if you had cancer, that could actually reinforce that what you actually think is going to happen sooner or later is inevitable. And yet we know in our head that we're going to die, because we've all known people who've died, And I think it's handling that. I think it's handling that fact that no matter what treatments, I've even thought of this about the treatments. The treatments sometimes make you feel worse, and you can't say this is the cancer, because you don't know. Perhaps physiologically, or you can tell, because the oncologist said to me, I mentioned, I've got pernicious anemia now. He just shrugged his shoulders. He said, no one's coming here who's got a perfect blood count or perfect blood chemistry. He said, no, if they did, they wouldn't be here. I said, well, that's true on one level. But if someone tells you, oh, you've got pernicious anemia, you've got to have these jabs for 3 months, and you have the jabs for 3 months, or whatever it was, and then it's no better, and then you're feeling rough and sick, and you're having you're having moments where you think, well, the world's just settling down, and then suddenly, you know, you don't feel okay. It's a huge thing to take on board, I think. And I think it's a huge thing also to be able to share that with people, and that they can actually understand.